Hello and welcome to Smash Hit Sports. Week 1 of college football is in the books, and it was kind of disappointing. I'm going to be honest. And I speak as a fan who's like, my team won, we didn't play anybody, whatever. But I think it was kind of disappointing. We had one ranked matchup the entire week. We had 3 wins over a ranked opponent. Like it wasn't a super compelling week 1 schedule. We kind of knew that going in. There were some games that were absolutely electric. And while the Colorado TCU game, I would love to talk about that one first. But unfortunately, there's another game that we have to talk about first, Nick. And your Clemson Tigers, my national championship pick. You want to talk about shit in the bed. Brother, that was tough.
Oh, yeah, dude. You have them winning it all, Cody.
Yeah.
I forgot. You should feel as much pain as I do now. But
yeah, chalk that up as a dono to DraftKings. Fuck.
Yeah. I never bet on my own team. So I went into that game. I actually watched it with like a bunch of my college buddies because naturally it was Labor Day weekend, so we were all together, drinking and whatnot. But no one seemed nervous at all, which, yes, us Clemson fans, especially like recent grads, have kind of been spoiled. But like we just went through this DJU thing. We've been pretty bad the past 2 years for Clemson standards, and nobody was even considering a loss. That I talked to, and I was like, "This is a road game. Like, do you guys you don't know Riley Leonard? Like, we're going into Duke. Duke won 9 games last year. Why isn't anyone even talking about it?" And the energy made me scared because normally when that shit happens, that's when you get shocked. That's when you get upset. So I wasn't like really shocked, but obviously I was disgusted and very disappointed. I mean, you watched the game.
Yeah.
Do you think it was Clemson playing like horrendously bad, or was it like the most like unlucky offensive red zone performance of all time?
So don't get me wrong, Duke made plays in the red zone, and I don't want to discredit them at all. Like they showed up, and that's what you have to do to beat these top teams. That being said, it was a mind-blowing offensive performance in my mind. Watching Clemson they bring in Garrett Riley, and they did almost nothing of what we saw at TCU. It was almost essentially like even the quarterback runs. Like I thought we would see a little bit more of the dynamic stuff that they did with Max Duggan, and it was still the same like roll out like runs to the weak side. It was gross. The outside zone running was okay with Will Shipley, but like the downfield passing was nowhere to be found. Everything that TCU did down the field was it was insane.
I watched it. Cade against UNC looks like he could be 100% a Heisman candidate. Like, I don't regret going into the season saying I'm a Cade believer because we saw what he can do. And then today, or against Duke, it was like, he had the yips. He forgot how to throw the ball more than 20 yards downfield. He was throwing ducks, air balls out there. We should have more picks. But And there were a lot of like streeter screens and stuff from like the old days that like immediately in the first quarter I was like, why are we running bubble screens every other play again? Like this is exactly what I wanted to change. And I do know that Garrett Riley's agent was like, oh, well, we're running the Clemson offense, not the Garrett Riley offense. Apparently that's a quote from before the game. So maybe Garrett Riley didn't have full control, which if not, what the hell are we doing? But also, when you look back at it, like the amount of times that Clemson kind of drove down the field with ease, relative ease.
Yep.
Run game looked really good. Some of the plays worked. And then they get to the 1 yard, like Phil Maffa would take like a 7-yard run and be like an inch short of the goal line.
Yep.
Down 6. And then, but you're not in. And then, of course, the next snap, is the fumble that Duke returns 80 yards. And it's like, yes, the final score was horrendous. Clemson should not lose by 21 to Duke, but I can't help but think that there's no way we lose that game, like from a momentum and an energy standpoint, if not for those incredibly fluky plays in the red zone.
Yeah, I agree, but also at the same time, I think for the better of the next, like, I feel a little more confident now than I would have if they would have won that game like 14-13 and we saw that offense do what it does. There's no way they trot out the same offense going forward. If they do, that's on Dabo for just refusing to change, because it was abhorrent. I mean, it was really tough to watch. And you mentioned with the bubble screens, like that was the toughest part of just not allowing Klubnik to make plays down the field. And the running game did look good. Like the Clemson's offensive line, like bullied Duke a little bit. Like Will Shipley looked good. Phil Maffa looked good. His anytime touchdown prop didn't hit. God damn it! But
it should have. Like it really should have though.
Right.
Like,
so I think it's a combination. I think that so the 13 it was a 13.5 point spread. Clemson was the favorite in that game. I don't think they were ever going to cover that, just because of the scheme and the offense and what they were trying to do. However, you don't lose by 21 points without some unfortunate bounces. And football's an odd-shaped football. Like, sometimes it doesn't bounce your way. But
it's just,
at the end of the day, they were still they I don't think they were going to win that game, even if they didn't have, like, the kicker issues and stuff like that.
I think Clemson lost the game. I don't think Duke beat Clemson as much as some people are saying it. And again, like you're saying, Clemson, no way they try out the same offense. I wouldn't be shocked. And it's just because I've heard myself say that so many times where I'm like, we just look so bad. There's no way we have like the same game plan again. And then of course we do. And like DJ would play a terrible game. I'd be like, let's please like put in Cade. Let's try something different. We wouldn't. And so, like, I don't know. I also hate that I can't. It's the same problem where I can't decide whether it's Cade not being able to do what they want him to do, so they're scared and they're calling this, bullshit short route pass play scheme, or is it just the offensive coordinator and the whole entire system is flawed? Because with DJ, like, I can't tell with that Oregon State game. I still can't tell if he's like had this resurgence. I know some people are saying Clemson owes DJU an apology. Not yet. But with DJ, I was like, is it him or is it Brandon Streeter? And now I'm like, is it Cade or is it just the scheme? I don't know, and I hate that I don't know. So, yeah, hopefully we change the offense. But overall, it was just so disappointing. Like, going to sleep was tough that night.
Yep. And the good news is you got 2 weeks to figure it out. You play Charleston Southern and FAU at home before you bring in the number 4 team in the country in Florida State. Yeah. And we could briefly talk about that game. Florida State beat LSU's ass. Big game Brian Kelly showed up in the most big game Brian Kelly fashion, and that is not at all. That is exactly what Brian Kelly teams do.
We called that one.
He just doesn't show up in big games. I've seen it as a Notre Dame fan. It happens every single year. LSU will go and they'll win, the games that they should, and then they'll end up playing like Alabama close, and there'll be 2 losses, and everybody will be like, oh, LSU's close, and they're not. They're the same old LSU Tigers. Same old Brian Kelly. So, do you got anything on that game that like you really? I mean, Keon Coleman's good.
The only thing that I saw was that I kind of knew LSU was overrated, but I honestly think Florida State is now overrated because to a lot of people, they beat a team that was number 5. LSU, in my opinion, shouldn't have been number 5.
Yep.
But also, like, there were a lot of, maybe you could blame it on week 1 rust and stuff, but there were a lot of plays that I was like, good God, like Johnny Wilson does not look like this perennial star at all, in my opinion. Yep. Jordan Travis made some bonehead throws. I think Jordan Travis is overrated. Like, I don't think he's a Heisman contender, in my opinion, or shouldn't be.
He played pretty well.
And then Trey Benson, he played well, but I think he's overrated. And then Trey Benson, I don't know. So I think that game, like, looking back on it, I wouldn't be surprised in December if we're like, oh, damn, like, that game was so hyped, and now both these teams are kind of like 2-3 losses. It's
Fair.
just tough. Florida State's schedule is so easy. So
fair enough. Only other games that really stood out to me. We'll talk Colorado TCU briefly, but Baylor losing to Texas State was kind of shocking to me. Their starting quarterback, Blake Shapen, got hurt, but they were down at halftime. So you can blame losing your quarterback all you want. And even if you do, Baylor should not lose to a team like Texas State. That
by
was
double digits, too.
Yeah,
right? I mean,
that was pretty surprising. I like Dave Aranda as a head coach. That was kind of shocking to me. Texas Tech was one of my favorite plays of the week at -13.5, and they lost outright at Wyoming. And now they play Oregon this week. So
well,
I know that was a lot of people's sleeper team to win the Big 12. And
I almost won a victory lap already in week 1. I won a victory lap that I was saying, Texas Tech shouldn't be your sleeper team. They're not going to be that good. So I wasn't surprised at all with that result. But I mean, it is still definitely they shouldn't have lost. They're definitely good enough to. And now they have an Oregon game, and what's the spread? It's like 6. I mean, we'll get to that game later, but it's kind of a crazy spread. So
yeah, absolutely, especially after what Oregon did to Portland State.
Yeah.
Last game I really want to talk about is the TCU Colorado game.
Yeah,
it was electric. It was great for the sport of college football, and I will die on that hill that, like, it's good when teams do things that are unexpected. 20.5-point underdog. They came out, won outright at TCU. I understand that TCU was a weak national champion runner-up, but they were still the national champion runner-up last year, and they went into their house and won. And Travis Hunter played like 110 snaps. He played both ways. And that diving interception is like that's an NFL level play that you just saw from that kid. Good. He's unreal. Shadur Sanders, 5'10" and 5 touchdowns. Their true freshman running back having 100 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns.
What's his name? Dylan Edwards?
Yes.
Something?
It's something Edwards. I'll Google it real quick.
Okay, but regardless, I was shocked at how good he was. I had no idea. I was like, oh, Colorado, blah, blah. He's incredible.
Yeah, Dylan Edwards is the name because we want to make sure we put some respect on it. He was committed to Notre Dame, and then he decommitted to go to Colorado and play with Deion.
Oh, boy.
That doesn't break my heart at all. That being said, holy shit, what a day. What a day for Colorado. I was already hyped for the Nebraska at Colorado game because these two teams hate each other, old Big 12 rivalry. And now you have Nebraska, who just Nebraska'd as hard as any Nebraska team has ever Nebraska'd against Minnesota. I mean, that was a Scott Frost game, true and true. You can take the man out of Nebraska, but you can't take the Nebraska out of the man. And then Colorado, who is riding as high as any team in the country, right? This is going to be, I saw on Twitter, this is already one of the most bet college football games of all time, including the playoffs, including national championship games. This is going to have, and they think it will by the time kickoff happens on Saturday, have more handle than any other college football game in the history of the sport. This is going to be unbelievable. Yes.
Is like all the in my opinion, all the money.
It's all the money's on Colorado, by the way.
All the money's
all of the money is on Colorado.
That spread's crazy, but yeah, I mean, and like you said, Nebraska, it's super hard last week, and I had Nebraska money line. It's disappointing, but I also sprinkled some money on Colorado money line, which was amazing.
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you, it's college football is the only thing I really do well on these days. But I'm off to a hot start. That spread was insane. I said it probably last episode, probably the episode before that. people were actively looking for reasons to hate Colorado without any validity, right? Because
Yep.
Deion Sanders is a good guy. People are like, oh, he's a clown. No, he's a great football, like smart football player. He's a great guy. He's got a great personality. He's a great leader, and he brought in a ton of amazing players.
Yep.
Why? People are like, they can't win. They just won one game. It doesn't matter, you know. Like, am I surprised they won? Yes, but that spread was insane to me. So
Colorado, and this isn't like, I don't think it's completely out of the out of the realm of possibility. Colorado's schedule over the next 3-4 games, they play Nebraska, Colorado State, both of those games at home. Then they play Oregon and USC. Probably not going to win those. But then they play Arizona State and Stanford. They realistically could hit their win total over by October 14th.
Yeah.
Like that's not out of the realm of possibility at all, which is crazy.
And I'm upset I didn't place their win total over. But about the game, the Colorado-Nebraska game, if that game is such a staple to college football, like I am so excited to watch it. Everyone has to watch it. Even if they were still both like unranked. Is Colorado ranked now? They're in the AP poll?
Yes, Colorado is ranked. I believe they are either 22nd or 23rd.
Even if they weren't, like that's a must-watch game. And I do think that if it was in Nebraska, that I would probably take Nebraska just because of how much that game would mean to, that school. Like, but it's in Colorado, and it's the exact opposite effect, in my opinion, where you're going to have everyone who is like in shock that goes to that school. All the students are going to be like all out. It's going to be like the most packed we've ever seen that stadium. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be awesome. Like the energy there is going to be great. So yeah, I'm very excited for that game.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. Let's get into week 2, and there's a game on Thursday night. I believe it's Louisville.
Week 2 brought to you by SeatGeek. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's do new sponsor alert for the podcast. Actually, the first, I guess, sponsor alert, but Smash It Sports brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek, we now have a code. So if you download the SeatGeek app, which you should, I had the app on the phone before I worked with SeatGeek. I'm actually mad that I can't use my own code because I've already downloaded it and used the app, but the best place to get your tickets. It tells you whether or not your tickets are a good deal. You get the best price. You can see the prices with, whatever fees. That way you know what you are going to pay for when you check out. Unlike some of these other ticketing services that, hide their shit and then they get you at the end with fees. You can see everything up front. It's super great. But if you use code SMASHHITSSPORTS, all one word, SMASHHITSSPORTS, you get $20 off your first ticket purchase at SeatGeek. Which, they're helping you guys out because the best part about college football is the in-game atmosphere and the in-game environment. So go out and get to some football games, especially this week 2 slate is loaded, dude. It's loaded. This is when week 1 was like, this is okay. Week 2 has so many phenomenal games. And it starts in a game that I will absolutely be watching Friday night. Illinois at Kansas is a Big 10, Big 12 matchup where it is, I'm not going to say unstoppable force meets immovable object, but it's very much Illinois is a phenomenal defensive team, and that is what Brett Bielema has staked his hat on, is being great defensively. Kansas has Jalen Daniels and a really good offense under Lance Leipold. Like, they're electric. That game's a 3-point spread, 7:30 kickoff in Lawrence, Kansas. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you told me maybe 2 months ago that I was going to care about that game, I probably would say no way. But the more I've thought about it, the more I watched both teams' highlights, I was like, you know what? Like, Illinois looked pretty good. They beat a Toledo team that I think won the MAC last year.
Yes. Yep.
And like statistically, the score was close, but Illinois looked like the better team for sure. I was kind of surprised. The defense is still very much stout. Toledo was really struggling. Their EPA was really low. It was like the 10th percentile. Still better than Clemson's, obviously. But and then Kansas played, like Missouri State or something. The spread was like 32. They won by 31. They looked standard, but I was definitely more impressed with Illinois, more surprised with Illinois. But if we're talking about the best thing to expect, the over-under is 57.5. I know you agree with this, but I like Illinois' defense to kind of play well enough for that under to be free.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in our best bets, but I am also all over that under. But that should be a fun game, close game. Excited for that. Let's start with the Saturday slate. We'll start with the early games and go down because there are going to be some electric ones. They finally put, for some reason, the kickoff for Texas and Alabama last year was at like noon. No, it's a night game in Bryant-Denny. Yeah. Oh, fuck, that environment's going to be awesome. But let's start with Notre Dame at NC State. It's my squad. NC State is a 7-point dog. Don't understand that. They beat UConn by 10. This Notre Dame team currently has a point differential of 94-6 through 2 weeks, playing Navy and Tennessee State. This should be a fun game.
I don't get the spread.
I want to see Notre Dame play like legitimate competition because this is the first test that we will get prior to going in and playing Ohio State on September 23rd. So should be fun. I'm excited for it.
This is what I don't get about like spreads and whatnot is that like NC State kind of barely beat UConn. Like I know they won by 10 double digits, but I was like, oh my God, UConn might win this game when I was watching it.
Yep.
And then Notre Dame crushes Navy. And if I pinned Navy and UConn together, I think that game would be a dogfight shoot. Like it would, I wouldn't know who to pick. The spread would be even or something, you know?
Yep.
And so how is NC State getting only like they're +7? It should be like plus 20 in my opinion. So everything seems so fishy when I see stuff like that. I don't know what to expect, but I hope, I guess, just because I have no skin in the game, I hope that it's close. Maybe Vegas is onto something. Maybe it's like this really, really close game that we can watch at noon. But from what I've seen, Notre Dame looks fantastic. And again, I've been a Sam Hartman guy all last year and this year so far, and he's done nothing to show that I'm wrong for that. So I'm expecting them to have a field day out there.
Yep. I got a bet on that game that I really like, but we'll talk about it later. Utah at Baylor is a game that I was a lot more excited for when both of the quarterbacks were healthy in Cam Rising and Blake Shapen. And now I don't know if either of them are going to play. It still doesn't look like Cam Rising is 100%. So I think they're going to trot in the backup again. Baylor's a 7.5-point dog at home. This was going to be a really fun game. I'm going to be honest, with the other games going on in the noon slate, I'm probably not going to watch this one. But this is a game that like could, I don't know, be fun to talk about at the end of the year. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have YouTube TV, but they have the like the quad box that you can watch.
Yep.
And I was doing it a bunch this weekend and in week 0, but Utah Baylor is going to be the game that like I'm not going to have the volume on, but it'll be in like the bottom right, and I'll know what's happening, but I don't care to hear about the announcers' opinions in that game, blah blah blah. And again, it's a much lower over under. So yeah, it's not going to be like as exciting as we expected, but again, I mean, Baylor just lost to Texas State. Like, I'm interested to see if they're just going to shit the bed or not. I guess they're playing at home, so I'll be tuned in at least a little bit.
Yeah, shout out the dude whoever put together the college football quad box. That shit is sexual. Oh my God.
And the game that I'm going to have the volume on for the quad box is this next game.
It's Nebraska, Colorado. Dude. Like, this game is going to be electric. This was on one. I think I did a top 10 list of non-conference games that I am the most excited to watch this season in the off season. This made the list prior to Colorado's win last week, and that just makes it all the sweeter. I'm so pumped for this game, dude. Shit, Can Dion do it again? All eyes of the sports world are going to be on this noon kickoff game. It's going to be electric, and I cannot wait to watch.
I can't fathom the idea of we just saw all the talent that Colorado has. I guess I'm not super sold on their defense, and we need to see more from TCU, right? Because Chandler Morris played not great. I think Chandler Morris is actually pretty good, but they still put up a lot of points. So I can't tell. But as far as Shadur Sanders, Dylan Edwards, this running back who is literally better than any running back I've ever seen in my life, and then Travis Hunter and all this, I think Colorado is going to wallop Nebraska, right? But it's a rivalry game, so you never know. And yeah, maybe it's a one-hit wonder for Dion in the non-conference.
The atmosphere in Boulder for that game, if I could go to any game in the country this week, you can have Texas, Alabama. I'm going to Nebraska at Colorado.
Honestly, I wish game day was going there.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
It will be electric. I'm going to take Colorado to win that game as well. It should be so much fun. I'm not betting against Dion anymore, dude. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, no way. I'm slamming that. But that reminds me, speaking of game day, and we don't have to touch on this much, but we didn't really talk about how terrible South Carolina's offensive line looked against North Carolina, which goes hand in hand with our Vandy South Carolina bet that I think we're both officially not feeling very good about.
Yeah. Vandy's 2-0. So hold your horses, brother.
That's true.
Dude, South Carolina looked like shit, man. That offensive line looked so bad. Spencer Rattler had 0 touchdowns. It was his season last year was all the highs were high, the lows were so low, and they were low that I was surprised with UNC's defense. We'll see if that's legit because I don't know, maybe they can make some noise in the ACC, but
maybe the ACC is back. Maybe it's a football conference now.
Hey, people have been saying
ACC did really well. That's 2 ACC teams that knocked off SEC teams last week in Florida State and North Carolina. So
yep.
I don't know. Hands are up, but as an ACC guy, that's pretty cool.
You love to see it. Let's talk about an ACC team. This game means a little bit more, not because of what's going to happen on the field, but because of what happened off it last season. James Madison is coming into Virginia. Virginia is a 6-point dog in that game. James Madison has been very, very good. They would have went bowling last year if it wasn't for the dumbest rule in the NCAA.
The dumbest rule of all time.
That being said, this is Virginia's first home game since 3 players were tragically killed in a shooting. How do you even coach through something like that? It'll be unbelievably emotional for that entire crowd.
It's going to be crazy. They'll have your moment of silence. The crowd's going to be so loud at the beginning of that game, just paying their respects. And again, I'm pretty sure JMU and UVA played last year, maybe a couple years ago. I think JMU won. This is a game that I think UVA can ride the energy of the moment. Because again, it's not like this is their first game back, and it's not they played Tennessee and they got handed to them. So I really think that just the home energy is going to take UVA, and the moment's going to be too big, and they're going to win this one.
Yeah, I don't have any skin in this game. I hope that Virginia wins.
Yeah,
so badly.
And it is like a hope thing. I would kind of be upset if they didn't. but it just, I don't know. We talked about Hawaii and thinking, that they were going to win their first home game with all, and then of course they don't. But it's like, so maybe in my head I'm pushing narratives too much, but they do exist. Like, you go back in history and stuff like this happens all the time, and it's not considered in the analytics spread making machine that Vegas is. So I don't know. I honestly, I mean, I almost don't want to bet on it either, just because, like, it is just such a bigger than football thing. It's bigger than my $20 that I want to throw. But yeah, I mean, they're still feeling the after effects of it. Canceled the games last year to finish the season. I think they even canceled some basketball games. Like, it's going to mean a lot to this school. So I'm very excited to watch that, like, that scene at the beginning of that game.
Yeah, and I think it'll be the other cool thing too is that James Madison is like 50 minutes from the University of Virginia. So like these are two teams that are very close. I know that JMU will be impacted by it as well. So we'll be tuned in for that.
That's my stomping ground right there. Like I'm like an hour from both schools. So
back in your neck of the woods.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to the 3:30 slate in what is the only ranked Group of 5 team against an Ole Miss squad that they're not ranked, but they had a hell of a showing in week 1.
They not
Jackson,
ranked? Ole Miss isn't ranked?
Oh, they are. My bad. It's 20.
Okay.
So we do have a ranked matchup here. Jackson Dart looked phenomenal. And credit to Tulane. I thought that South Alabama would really give them fits. They did at the beginning of that game, but Tulane closed it out strong. They're bringing back their quarterback from last year, who has been nothing short of incredible. Tulane's a 7-point dog. This game is at Tulane.
Yeah,
this game should be awesome.
I'm very excited. Again, this slate is unbelievable. We talked about it when we were doing like our record predictions at the beginning of the year, and I think we both were like, we're going to take Ole Miss here. Like, we like Tulane, but it just feels right. But I guess I kind of thought that South Alabama was going to match the talent level of Tulane, and they didn't. Tulane is like one step above them still, which kind of surprised me. I was pleasantly surprised by how good Tulane looked on paper and eye test. And then I think I'm just not that much of an Ole Miss guy this year. So the +7 number, I mean, I think Tulane's gonna take it. I'm definitely really excited for it though.
Yeah, this will be one, and the over/under too is like 66.
Yeah, it's
like
really high scoring.
There's going to be so many points. This game, I'm going to do a side by side with this game. We're going to have Ole Miss and Tulane, and then we're going to have Texas A&M and Miami, and it might be a tale of two games because I think Ole Miss and Tulane is going to be very high scoring. I think Texas A&M and Miami are two really good defenses. I think I have them both in my top 20 defenses for this season. But that's another game that we thought last year, like I thought it was going to be like, all right, which of these teams is like kind of back? And it turns out which of these teams is just the least shitty.
But this year's different though. This year
though, Texas A&M is ranked, and rightfully so.
Right?
They're 23rd.
I was really impressed with both teams. I don't know about you.
Yeah, Connor Wegman looked good. Like he looked the prince that was promised for Texas A&M. They might have their best quarterback since, maybe Johnny, because they didn't have a great string of quarterbacks after him.
Kellen Mond, baby.
And the other thing is we kind of talked about it in week 1, but like you get a chance to see what these teams do schematically, even against poor opponents. Is you get to see, hey, what does this team want to do? How do they want to attack? And they did kind of spread the ball out a little bit, and they ran the ball like they were aggressive. Connor Wegman threw it down the field quite a bit, 10, 15 yards down the field, and he made those plays. He looked good. His accuracy was on point. I like Texas A&M in this game. I think they beat Miami at Miami. I think Texas A&M with LSU already dropping one, they might be the second best team in the West.
Yeah. I can absolutely see that. I readjusted my top 25 rankings like for the end of the season, and I just posted it like 3 hours ago. So check out my Instagram. But I think I have Texas A&M finishing as the second best team in the West. They looked really motivated. They looked really, really physical. Their defense looked like better than I was expecting them to, with just big hits, ball hawking, attacking players.
They're flying around out there.
They were flying around everywhere. I was just like, God damn. I mean, again, not the best opponent, but then I was also impressed with Miami just because, obviously before the narrative came out of nowhere, I was not worried about Miami losing that game. But then the Miami of Ohio quarterback's like, we're the best Miami and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And people, it actually like convinced a lot of people to bet on Miami, Ohio. And it was never a game. Miami smoked them and looked really good in the process. So I think both these teams might actually be back this year. They could easily finish the year ranked. And, yeah, I think the spread's right. And the over-under is right. This game is just going to be a dogfight. Like, if I could guarantee a game that I think is going to be close, I think it's this one.
Yep, I would agree with you. Another 7 o'clock kickoff. This is the game of the weekend. This is the game that has the most playoff implications. This is where College Game Day is at. The Barstool is doing their thing here as well. It's going to be a phenomenal atmosphere. The Dixieland Delight is going to be loud. Alabama is being petty. They put their visitors' tickets for this game in the upper deck because that's what Texas did to them so that Alabama didn't bring their band last year.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable. It's going to be a raucous crowd. Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, which, first off, any Alabama fan that is going to sit here and be like, Jalen Milroe's the next Jalen Hurts because look at what he did against Middle Tennessee State. It's Middle Tennessee State. Chill the fuck out. Anyway, stupid Alabama fans. God fucking damn it. But we do get to see Alabama's an unbelievably talented roster up and down that thing, and so is Texas. Like, this is going to be a phenomenal game. Alabama is a 7-point favorite at home. The over-under is 54.5. I think this is going to be like a 28-24, like 31-25 game. Like, this is going to be a great game. I cannot wait to watch. Who are you picking in this one?
This is sparking a new SEC rivalry, right? Which I love. I know a lot of SEC teams claim they're rivals with Alabama, but it seems like Alabama fans and even personnel they don't like Texas right now.
Yep. And
luckily, Texas gets to probably play Alabama again next year, or maybe if not next year, the year after. So I'm pumped for that. And this is my thing. You know how the home team in college football, from a spread standpoint, gets like a 3-point
3
cushion.
to 4, yeah.
It's whatever it is. It's like, oh, if you're -3 and you're at home, that means the game's really a pick 'em, but you're at home, so you get -3. Alabama, yep. I think, because it's Alabama and you don't win there in Bryant-Denny, I think Vegas just gives them a 7-point cushion. Like, it's that type of situation where I do think this game is more of a pick 'em, but because Alabama's at home, it's going to be that much harder for Texas to win. Mm-hmm. There's going to be just moments where Texas is not going to be able to hear the snap, and the momentum's going to shift here and there. So I do like Alabama to win for that reason. So it makes sense, but I don't think I'm going to touch it from a spread standpoint, just because that 7-point cushion there is crazy.
Yeah. You talk about Alabama being phenomenal at home. Since Nick Saban was hired at Alabama, their home record is absolutely insane.
Like 98-6 or something, right?
Yes, it is unbelievable. They are 54% at home against the spread, which is like a top 5 in like top 5 among all FBS, and that's against the spread. Since 2008, Alabama at home is an unbelievable 99-5.
Wow.
They win 95.2% of their home games. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I'm going to take Bama to win. I'll probably bet Texas to cover just for fun, but I won't. That will not be my heaviest play of the day. I can guarantee you that.
I think that might be a toss it in the teaser type play, depending on what side you're on.
Fair.
Like if you like Bama, take them at -1. If you like Texas, take them at +13. That makes a ton of sense to me. But yeah, if you're just straight betting it, I'm actually not going to touch it. But I don't even want to touch it because this is the type of game like that
you don't need an invested interest to watch. You don't have
to have any skin in the game to be like, this is amazing. Just like Tennessee, Alabama last year, which is it's a game that you really just want to watch. I honestly wish it was like the 3:30 CBS game because that's what feels so college football-y to me.
Yep.
But we'll probably have Chris Fowler on the call, Herb Street.
Yeah.
The national championship guys. And again, the energy is going to be crazy. It's going to be great. That's going to be awesome.
Yep. So let's move on to the next one. UCF at Boise State UCF put up hella points in week 1. They looked phenomenal. Boise State didn't look incredible against Washington. But I think it says a lot more about Washington than it does about Boise State. Like Washington is damn good.
Yeah, I am definitely. I agree with that Washington is legit. If you don't think so, you're stupid. But I did watch that game and was I was worried about how bad Boise State's defense looked. Just from a preparation standpoint and like a skill standpoint, I was just like, oh God, they're not going to be able to hold up against any good offenses. And so I for so long, I had Boise State in a New Year's Six Bowl because I was like, they're going to lose to Washington, but it'll be close-ish and then they'll win out. But they got smoked by Washington. Yes, Washington is that good, but I feel like a lot of us kind of knew that. So I've dropped Boise State out of that New Year's Six Bowl, and they're getting 3.5 points at home against UCF. Everything's pointing to you just taking UCF here. What do you think? What are you going to take?
Yeah, I'm probably going to take the over more than anything at 57.5. I like John Reese Plumlee. I like that offense. The thing with UCF is I have not seen a single ounce of what their defense can do yet, and that was my concern with this team. Because they did get a couple of transfers on the defensive side of the ball, and I haven't seen it yet. And that's
right. And they'll have to perform against Boise State.
And that's the one thing that does concern me.
It's sneaky though. It should be really, really close, really fun, like some of the games, like the Ole Miss Tulane game, right? But I really just don't know what to do. And just because I'll just die on the Boise State hill and eat my words. If they lose to UCF and start 0-2, it's just not going to be their year, and that's fine. I was wrong. But I'm not going to bow out yet, so I'm going to go with Boise State because, again, I don't really have a reason to go for UCF. So, but that's a game that you could quad box in there if you wanted to on YouTube TV for sure.
Hell yeah. You got to ride with your boys. I'm going to take UCF then, just so we're different.
Okay, cool.
I was waiting to see what you would say, and then I was just going to pick the opposite. Because this game really, I don't have a ton of conviction either way. This is a game that I do think we're going to be different on. Oregon at Texas Tech. Tyler Shaw did not look good for the Red Raiders. They went into Wyoming, which is the highest altitude college football stadium in the country, 7,215 feet up in the air. And they did kind of look gassed a little bit, and it got them. They got by Wyoming. Not a phenomenal game. That being said, Lubbock is a different place to play. This total is sky high, 68.5. I think a lot of the public is going to be on Oregon. They're going to see the 6.5 number. They're going to think it's crazy. I wouldn't be shocked if it made it to 7. I think everybody and their mom is going to be on Oregon because of what they did against Portland State and how good Bo Nix was and all this and that. I think Texas Tech wins this game outright in Lubbock.
Whoa.
I thought it at the beginning of the season. I think it now. I'm taking Texas Tech in this one. I think it is going to be a very close game. A lot of points scored. But give me Texas Tech.
So that's fascinating because before you said that, I was like, yeah, obviously I'm taking Oregon. Not even because of what Oregon did, but just I was just like, oh, God, Texas Tech, so fraudulent, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But I honestly kind of agree that everyone's going to be like, Texas Tech looks like garbage and Oregon's amazing. And Texas Tech is at home. And they're talented enough to absolutely have a bounce back week.
Yep.
It could be that Texas Tech, maybe they were like sleeping a little bit, because that's definitely a statistic that comes into play when you have a huge game the week after a game that is quote unquote not huge. You might lose that game. It's a trap. So it's perhaps, I don't know yet. Maybe Oregon blows Texas Tech out of the water, but I don't hate that prediction just because the narrative is there. So I respect that. And I'll tip my cap if it happens, but I'm still going to go Oregon. But now I'm actually more excited because I think it could definitely be close.
I think this game is going one of two ways. I think Texas Tech wins outright, or I think Oregon wins by 2 touchdowns, and I don't think there's an in-between. So
if it's close, Texas Tech wins.
Yes.
Which is fair, right? Just because you have the home crowd and all that. That you've actually successfully increased my excitement for this game tenfold. So
that's what we're about.
Cap already.
We're just hyping up college football over here. It's great.
Yeah, and that's the purpose here. That's why we're even covering these games for you guys, because I'm pumped now. That should be good, especially with an over that high. We'll move on to Wisconsin, Washington State. I have a lot to say about Wisconsin. I'm a bit disappointed in their performance against Buffalo. What did you see?
Yeah, I was more disappointed with their defense than their offense. I was like, oh, they got UNC's offensive coordinator, and yet somehow they also got UNC's defense because they did not look good against Buffalo. I'm going to be honest. I expected a lot more out of the defense. I thought the offense was okay. They did what they needed to do. They scored 38.
Yeah,
I thought it was fine.
They were meshing, trying to build some chem. I agree with that. But it was too close for comfort for a little there. They were up by 4 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here with Wisconsin in my CFP, right? Which at least they won. You lost Clemson already, pretty much. But I guess not technically.
Not yet.
I have hope still. But I need to see a lot more from Wisconsin. Now they have a game on the road against a Power 5 team. So this is for me kind of like a was I right or was I wrong game, and I'm pumped for that. Also nervous though, but this is definitely one of those fade games where I'm not gonna pick a winner or any I don't want to have any part of it. I just need to watch or even check the score later.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. I'm excited to see Luke Fickell with a team that he's gonna have to really dial it up. And see what that Wisconsin team can do. And then a game that I didn't think I would be talking about this week, but we're going to throw it in here. Auburn at Cal. Cal looked good against North Texas.
Good.
They put up points. That offense was great. Their running back was incredible. He was phenomenal.
I was shocked to see. The last thing we talked about on our week 1 preview was how I had Cal minus 6.5 against North Texas. And it was you were don't do that. No way. And then I was you know what? You're actually I have no reason to take Cal. I don't.
I'm sorry I talked you out of a winning bet. That's on me.
You did talk me out of a winning bet, which is fine. I don't care. But I was definitely I looked at the gameonpaper.com. You should go there and look at stats if you ever are interested in deep dive analytics. But Cal was like crushing it in every metric, offensively and defensively. Put up a ton of points. Guess how many yards of total offense they had in that game against North Texas?
I would say probably 400 or 500 yards.
They had like 640 total yards of offense.
Fuck, dude.
They had like 350 rushing yards, almost 300 passing yards. And I was just like, oh my God, that's insane. They held North Texas to 200 total yards of offense. It was one of the most dominant performances of week one. And the spread was 6 for Cal. So Cal is now at home against Auburn. And me says they're going to do it again.
I kind of like Cal.
Yeah.
I kind of like Cal.
I'm all over Cal, baby.
Let's go.
I'm riding that because I think people probably didn't even look at the score of that Cal North Texas game.
Yeah.
Especially East Coast folk that are just like whatever, or the people that only care about the teams that are ranked. And all the SEC people are going to be like, "Oh, Auburn, it's SEC. They're going to crush Cal." Nope. You don't know Cal like I know Cal. I'm a Cal expert.
I love that.
I'm an expert.
Nick's team that he's dying on this year is Cal and South Carolina. I love that for you, dude.
And Wisconsin, yes.
And Wisconsin. There we go.
Yeah.
At least you're not riding with Vanderbilt. But
I'm actually I root against South Carolina every time they play. But I do. They need to finish with a better record than Vandy, or else I'll secede. I'll wave the white flag that I.
Well, the good news is when you have to buy me football tickets, you can use promo code SmashHitSports to get $20 off your first.
That's true. I'll hop on
purchase.
SeatGeek and I'll buy you tickets to the IUPUI versus.
Oh, I was gonna say Notre Dame college football playoff game, but that's fine.
Oh no, I get to choose, right? That's the
rule. You're gonna send me to an IU or an Indiana State game.
University, Purdue University, Indianapolis versus Kentucky Wesleyan, Kansas. Hell yeah! D3. You'll have a great time.
Can't wait.
You have to buy the plane ticket though.
Wait. All right. Let's get into our best bets. I have 3 that I'm really passionate about. I'll probably have more on my card come Saturday. Make sure you're following on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. That way you can see our latest picks because I know things change, right? Injury updates happen. So make sure you guys are following us on social media if you're going to take these picks at all. And let us know if you're riding because the best part about winning is winning together. So the 3 bets that I'm going to have, the first one I know we're both on, Kansas, Illinois, under 57.5. That number is insanely high. Illinois is 12-20-2 to the over since they hired Brett Bielema. He is a defensive coach through and through. That's what he does. Illinois didn't have a single game go over this total last year. Not a single one.
And everyone's on the over too.
Yeah, 85% of the bets being on the over is insane to me. It's insane to me. I don't get that at all. Kansas is 5-8 to the over at home under Lance Leipold. So it's not like Kansas is some over smashing machine either.
You see Big 12 team, you normally think, the over is probably a safe bet. But Kansas isn't necessarily. I mean, they're probably in a lot of high total games. At least like the over under is like 65 for Kansas Oklahoma, and it doesn't hit something. But I just close my eyes and I'm like, Illinois in a game where both teams score 30 points. I don't see it. So, and I definitely can see a 28 to 24 type game, which would hit with some comfort there. I'm definitely on it. You have better rationale than I do, but I'm glad that that rationale works in my favor. I actually also have your second pick.
Yeah, we're taking Notre Dame. I was interested to see how NC State would look with Brennan Armstrong reuniting with his offensive coordinator. I was not impressed. I like NC State as a program, and I like what their coach does. But at the same time, this team is 4-8 against the spread since last year. They're 7th worst in FBS over that time. Notre Dame is 9-6 against the spread since Freeman took over. So Notre Dame, I will say this. I don't typically bet Notre Dame, not only because they are my team, but also because they are such a public favorite all the time. Like that, the public loves Notre Dame, and I totally understand why. They're one of the most popular teams in the sport. But
gassing up your own team.
Freeman has still done a phenomenal job against the spread. But here's the biggest thing. Notre Dame runs the hell out of the goddamn football. They pound the rock. That offensive line is top 5 in the nation. They are incredible. The Audric Estime, like they have a stable of running backs there. Notre Dame is averaging 6 yards a carry this year. It's 14th. Now, granted, not against phenomenal competition, but it's 14th in the country. NC State is averaging 6.2 yards per carry allowed defensively. That is 88th among 90 qualifying teams in the statistic that have played an FBS team. So if you haven't played an FBS team, it doesn't count.
It's just UConn. So
and it is against UConn.
They let UConn run the third best yards per carry against them, which is crazy. Yeah, and
I'm taking it like estimate 2+ touchdowns. Like it's going to be. I think Notre Dame dog walks them. I think Notre Dame dog walks them.
This is like it sucks though because again, this feels like so free, but it also feels so trappy. And NC State UConn was kind of that game last week, and Purdue Fresno State, and neither Purdue or NC State covered. I don't think. Nope. So it's
Purdue lost outright.
Huh?
Purdue lost outright to Fresno State.
So, and they were like -3 or whatever. Yep. So it's true that these traps, as unsexy as they may seem, you have to be aware of them. But I also have no self-control, so I'm going to be on Notre Dame here. But this is one of those games that, like, if something happens that's like absolutely shocking, just know that it screams trap vibe based on the spread.
Fair enough.
Just keep that in mind.
And then my last bet, this is a bet I have decided, as of right now, I will be taking every single week until it doesn't hit. It is going to be the USC over. I'm going to take USC's over every game until it doesn't hit. It is 69.5, an insanely high number. But USC was 11-3 to the over last season. They're 2-0 to the over this season. Stanford scored 37 on the road last week at Hawaii. Like their offense looked okay. USC has scored 56 and 66 in each game this season. Like they allowed 14 points to Nevada. They allowed 28 to San Jose State. This game's going over. It's going over.
The Pac-12 offenses have impressed me in week 1. They actually set the record for most conference wins without a loss to start a season. They're 13-0 right now.
Yeah, they're undefeated. Right? It's insane.
That's crazy. Stanford, I was like, they stink buns. And again, they might stink buns. They probably will stink buns, but their offense is better than I thought they would be. It's funny. I took the USC over last year one time, and it was when it was like 83. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep.
I don't know. I forget who it was against, but it was the highest over of like the decade.
The season, yeah.
I think it was something crazy. And I was like, this is the rule that if it over is that high or an under is that low, you go under or you go over. Like you take the over if the high over.
Yep.
And it didn't fucking hit. So I was like, God damn it. Now I'm not betting that ever again. And of course it probably like hasn't even lost since then. So I should probably ride this with you. But I don't know, I'm afraid. So
fair enough.
But I'll just ramble through the other bets that I like a lot this week. I like UVA money line for the reasons we discussed before. That goes the same with Colorado, Tulane, and Boise. Some of the games that we didn't cover are Wake Forest -10 versus Vandy. That is like I need that to happen. Vandy can't go 3-0.
I was so close to picking that, and I didn't.
Wait, I was -10 or what?
No, Vandy, the other side of that.
10?
I was so close to having that, and I'm glad that I didn't, but damn.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can honestly add it to the graphic just so we can make that fight go longer. But I also have Iowa -4 at Iowa State. I think Iowa State beat Iowa last year, so this is like a revenge game for Iowa. But luckily for Iowa, they're playing like a beaten and battered, like not even a roster kind of Iowa State team.
Yeah. A-State.
Yeah, so Iowa's only getting 4 points too, and that's just the home field advantage differentiation right there. So yeah, give me Iowa all day, every day. That's actually probably like stamp that, put the star there. That's my favorite bet. Texas State plus 13 at UTSA. Texas State beat Baylor by double-digit points, and we're winning at halftime when Baylor had their full roster. We talked about this. That has to mean Texas State's good, right?
Yeah.
I think that
right?
that they're just not getting the respect because, of course, they're not because it's Texas State. But they're playing UTSA. UTSA's offense did not look very good. They lost.
I thought that was going to be a game with a ton of points, and then it was like, what, 17-13?
17-14. I had Houston was one of my favorite bets last week. But UTSA was the favorite, and they lost. And now they're getting they're minus 13 against Texas State. I think that's too many points, so I like that. I like Texas State in this, a lot. So that rounds it out. Those are the ones I'm going to be on. The games I think you should not bet on are Wisconsin, Washington State, Utah, Baylor, Oregon, Texas Tech, and then actually I like Cal money line, but I don't love it by any means. It still feels crazy. But if you want to ride that with me, I will be on it. So
all right, let's do it. We're in. We're in. Fuck
Lock
yeah.
it in. Lock
Dude,
it
I'm
in.
so...
And anyone else that wants to ride it, definitely hop in on that wave and we can celebrate. We can all be Cal fans together, guys.
Yeah. Who would have sentence that I didn't think we would say at the beginning of the season, but we ride.
Let's go Cal. Undefeated. Come on. Clemson,
hell yeah.
They can't go undefeated, so I'm a Cal fan.
That's tough, buddy. Thoughts and prayers in your trying time.
Yeah,
good news is you're probably not going to lose
now
to Charleston Southern. So,
I hope not.
Yep. All right. Well, that being said, that's all we've got. Make sure if you made it to this point of the podcast, be a friend, tell a friend, send it to somebody. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. I cannot wait for another great week of college football. We're going to have a whole hell of a lot to talk about next week, too. Next week, recapping this, plus the week 3 slate. God damn, we're back, dude. We are
never-ending
back.
Supply of content now, baby. We're so back.
Yep, we'll see you.
Love it.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye now.